The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Father in heaven, we thank thee for this beautiful day in Minnesota and express gratitude for the wonderful legislators who are here today, for the clerks and the administrators, and we ask thee to bless them and their families for the service that they render to all of us who reside here in this great state of Minnesota. We pray for thy blessings today, that the work of this body may be helpful, that thou might magnify the efforts of all who have prepared and will participate in this session. And we pray that Minnesota will continue to prosper and that all who reside will find joy and peace here. We pray in the Lord's name, amen.
The chaplain for today is Elder
Curran.
Kerr from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Chaska, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the flag which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. Will the chief clerk please call the name of the member who is voting remotely?
Smith.
Here you go. Go ahead, Andy.
Smith.
Present.
One more time.
Smith, present.
Smith, present.
The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 89th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Thursday, March 7th, 2024.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. There's a copy of this order of business on your desk and online. If there's no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading House file number 2364.
Second reading.
Second reading House file number 3376.
Second reading.
Second reading House file number 3589.
Second reading.
Second reading House file number 3613.
Second reading.
Second reading House file 4109.
Second reading.
Second reading House file 4483.
Second reading.
And second reading House file 4518.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction and first reading of House files 4764 through 4855.
First reading House files 4764 through 4855. Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3309. The clerk will report the bill.
House file number 3309, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to civil actions, enacting the Uniform Public Expression Protection Act, the first engrossment.
I recognize Representative Frazier, the member from Hennepin, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is House File 3309. House File 3309 addresses lawsuits known as SLAP, or a strategic lawsuit against public participation. This is a notorious type of frivolous litigation that, since the 1980s, powerful entities and individuals have used as a tool to stifle dissent and harass critics, suppressing their First Amendment rights. These lawsuits typically make some type of defamation, invasion of privacy, or nuisance claim, but their real purpose is to force the defendant to waste large sums of money to defend themselves. In this sense, the outcome of the lawsuit is irrelevant to the plaintiff. Bankrupting a critic of theirs, potentially into silence, is the real victory. More than half of the states in the U.S. have implemented anti-SLAPP statutes, including Minnesota, which enacted anti-SLAPP legislation in 1994 under Minnesota Statute 55401 to 55406. However, the Minnesota law was found unconstitutional in 2017 in Leinendecker versus Asian Women United of Minnesota. This bill will replace that law. The bill I offer today has been developed by the Uniform Law Commission known as the Uniform Public Expression Act, or UPEPA. This bill is introduced, has been adopted in 6 states so far, and this will make the 7th if we adopt this bill today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Frazier moves to amend House File number 3309, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A24-0224.
Representative Frazier, to your amendment.
This amendment just aligns to address the effective date, which lines things up with the new year.
Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There being no further amendments at the desk, the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3309. as amended.
Third reading as amended. Discussion to the bill. The member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Frazier, for carrying this bill. As I'm sure you all are painfully aware, I've risen many times on this floor expressing concerns that we're passing bills that erode free speech rights, and many times expressing concerns that we're passing bills that encourage frivolous lawsuits. This is a great bill because it steps in the right direction on both of those fronts. It reins in, as Representative Frazier noted, frivolous lawsuits by creating new procedural tools to disincentivize and throw out meritless cases. And in the process, it strengthens the rights of all of us, all Minnesotans, to participate in the public square without being worried that we could be bullied into silence through abusive litigation in the courts. For several decades, as Representative Frazier referenced, anti-SLAPP laws have been passed on a bipartisan basis in both red and blue states. Minnesota had an anti-SLAPP law that had been passed with bipartisan support. This bill corrects the procedural flaws that resulted in that being struck down. It's carefully crafted by the Uniform Law Commission to address that problem. And I appreciate the good work of the Uniform Law Commissioners from Minnesota, including the Speaker is on the Uniform Law Commission. They did good work on this bill. Representative Frazier did good work carrying this bill through. It's a good day for Minnesota. It's a good day for free speech in Minnesota. I urge members to vote green.
Any further discussion to the bill? Representative Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank Representative Niska for his support on this bill and helping us get to this point here. It's a good bill, so let's light it up green.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill.
Will the clerk call the members who are voting remotely?
Smith.
Smith votes aye.
Smith votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 yeas and 0 nays, the bill passed as amended and title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3526. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3526, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to consumer protection, the first engrossment.
To the author of the bill, the member from Scott, Representative Tabke.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members. So today we have a consumer protection bill in front of us. Last year we passed a price gouging standard that was passed and has become law in Minnesota. And over the last summer, when we had excessive amounts of rain and storms and a lot of natural events occurred that had considerable damage to homes and businesses throughout the state of Minnesota. And so the insurance industry came to me with an idea that we need to make sure to add the tree trimming and mitigation services to the price gouging standard to make sure that we are not being charged excessively for mitigation during storms and during seasons and during acts of emergency. And so that is the bill, Madam Speaker, and I'm really proud to have bipartisan support for this and look forward to any questions.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Tabke moves to amend House File Number 3526, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A3.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative Tabke, who will explain the amendment.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And this amendment is adding definitions to the bill that will match what is passing in the other body.
Discussion on the amendment. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Tabke. Could you please outline for us these changes, the impacts to the underlying bill, and why this is a good idea beyond what the other body is doing?
Representative Tabke.
Yes, Madam Speaker and Representative Schultz. So this, as you can see here, adds additional definitions so that there's more clarity in the bill, and and I'm perfectly good with the way to go on this. It adds business that provides service to prevent further damage to property following a fire, smoke, water, or storm event. Services include but are not limited to board up of property, water extraction, drying, smoke or odor removal, cleaning, and personal property inventory, removal, and storage. So that just adds further definition to the bill to make sure that we're getting this right.
Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Third reading, right? There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3526, as amended.
Third reading is amended. Discussion. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members, for the discussion on this bill. As we know, there was a brand new piece of statute put into place following the last session as it relates to price gouging, a concern that we hear across our communities. But today I rise with some concern as it relates to this legislation and concern for the specific written language of this bill that I don't believe brings about the right amount of humility as it relates to small businesses and people who provide these services in tree trimming or restoration services. My specific concern, members, is it does not matter which part of the state you are in. When we experience a natural disaster, there is no way to predict or to show the amount of people who are in business doing restoration services or tree trimming and the price that they are working at in that moment. In addition, when we're considering a natural disaster occurring in any one of our communities, there certainly are people who may come into our communities after a natural disaster, and I believe that this bill, as presented, is too ambiguous to those small businesses and could result on unfair and undue burdens and penalties on small business owners. I'm specifically referencing the notion in the underlying statute related to 60 days prior to a natural disaster. Concern where someone who may be operating a tree trimming business may not be doing business in that community or at all 60 days prior to a natural disaster. And so it's very difficult for us in law to define exactly what the rate or the cost would be based upon 60 days, which is in the underlying statute. That's my concern as it relates to this bill, and a reason why I'll be voting no today. Doesn't mean that the premise isn't right. It doesn't mean that we don't have the opportunity to fix this. But my understanding of the bill and the implications, whether for businesses that operate in the community where there is a natural disaster, or whether it's for businesses that come from outside, could result in undue burden and future penalties that could result in fewer tree trimmers and people who are doing cleanup services not choosing to do business within a place that has had a natural disaster. So that is why I'll be voting no today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion. Representative Heintzman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Tabke, I too am going to have some concerns to share with you all today. And I know that, Representative Tabke, your heart is in the right place. I have been known to put on a set of tree spikes from time to time and to work in this field. And I just want to share what you could be setting up the people of Minnesota for should there be a need for folks to come in and to do work in this subject area. And having seen on many, many occasions, 2015 was the last big event in my county, Crow Wing County, and during that time we had huge straight line winds and we had lots and lots of damage to homes throughout that area where that storm impacted. In fact, the governor even came and very graciously spent some time, toured the area. We were up in a helicopter taking a look at the damage, and it was, as I said, severe. And one of the real challenges that homeowners had during that time, Representative Tabke, was trying to get a home, say, for example, a tree hits, you now have storms coming in, which is typical, one on top of another, and you have a tree or another piece of debris from trees that comes through, damages a roof. And if you don't have folks to come in there immediately, now what do you have? You got water damage that could far exceed the actual structural damage, and now homeowners are left going, I can't get any help. If this language becomes law, they could very easily be in a situation where they cannot get help. And I hope that the body understands that during these kinds of events, costs go up. In many cases, you got folks doing this kind of work that they're trying to up-hire, they're trying to get staff to come in and to be there on those job sites, and that can be more costly. And so I understand the objective and what we're working towards, but I hope that there might be another way to get at the issue of gouging, because that is a concern. I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, this bill should in some way acknowledge that there are cases where you have these things come into a community, these kinds of storms and other things that damage homes, and you could unfortunately be causing trouble down the road. And I just want to put that out there. I believe that the motivation behind this bill is right, but it might need some work as it moves forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the author of the bill, Representative Tabke.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members, and thank you for the discussion on this bill. And so with this, it is not simply, Representative Heinzman, it is not simply charging emergency fees or things like that. It is unconscionable price gouging that we're talking about today. And it's really important that we understand that. We heard in committee examples of folks getting charged $80,000+ to have a few trees removed post-storm. We heard examples in committee where people were charged $56,000 for other trees and water mitigation that were just simply unconscionable and beyond what is a normal fee to be charged in these types of situations. And so I'm really proud of this consumer bill that will take and protect folks. It will help protect everybody across the state of Minnesota because it will reduce the amount of really large tree trimming claims and water mitigation claims and move that forward. So I just appreciate everyone's green vote on this bill.
The clerk will take the roll. Will the chief clerk will the chief clerk call the members voting remotely?
Smith.
Smith votes aye.
Smith votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 89 yeas and 40 nays, The bill passed as amended and is title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar is House File 3868. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3868, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce, adopting amendments to the Uniform Commercial Code to accommodate emerging technologies.
There are no amendments at the desk. I recognize the author, Representative Curran.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, members. House File 3868 is a bipartisan bill that addresses the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC, which is a set of rules that govern commercial transactions. For over 60 years, the UCC has worked to facilitate commerce throughout the United States because it has been adopted in nearly identical form by every U.S. jurisdiction. As a result, it does not matter if parties to a transaction are in different states. The law governing the transaction is substantially the same. The UCC is updated periodically to keep pace with legal and technological developments. House File 3868 will ensure that the UCC continues to facilitate commercial activity well into the future by addressing a limited set of transactions, largely involving emerging technologies such as digital assets. And I encourage members to support and vote green.
The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3868.
Third reading. Discussion. I'm going to get these counties right. Representative Niska, let me just look here. My vision is not. The member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Curran. Again, we've had a few conversations about this bill in committee, and I just wanted to highlight specifically the last sentence of the bill, which is the only part that diverts from the version in the Uniform Law Commission's report, and if Representative Curran would yield to a question.
Representative Curran will yield to a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Curran. I just wanted you to just help clarify, as the chief author for the legislative record, what does that sentence at the end mean in this bill?
Representative Curran.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Representative Niska, for the question and for the dialogue during committee. I appreciate it. Yes, the very last line of this bill on page 132 just specifies a limitation that nothing in this act supports, endorses, creates, or implements a national digital currency. And the reason that this language was added was just to make no mistake about what this bill does and doesn't do. There had been some potential confusion surrounding digital currency, and we just wanted to make it very clear that this bill does not establish a digital currency nationwide.
Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Curran. That's very important. It's important to a lot of folks watching. I think it should be important to all of us as we think about, there are a lot of countries that are implementing central bank digital currencies, and it's a real concern. It's something that we should be vigilant about. It's something that allows for really unprecedented surveillance and potential control of us. And as we look at regulation in this space and look at what's happening more broadly, we need to continue to be vigilant. But I do appreciate that this bill doesn't do anything one way or the other on that topic. What it does do are some pretty useful, important things when we're talking about the world of digital assets, like non-fungible tokens or cryptocurrencies. Right now, there's a gap in our commercial law in the state of Minnesota as it relates to that. Other types of assets can be used by people who want to, borrow and use those assets as collateral in ways that right now we don't have the legal framework in Minnesota to do with digital assets. Love them or hate them, there's a lot of concerns around cryptocurrency and NFTs, and there definitely are things we should be looking at and concerned about in terms of ways that those can be exploited. But they're not going anywhere, and I think it's useful that this bill provides that legal framework for people who want to enter into contractual, lending relationships or other kinds of relationships that that recognize the existence of these digital assets. So I appreciate Representative Curran carrying this bill and the Uniform Law Commission for doing a lot of work, writing a very long bill that essentially ports over a lot of the concepts that apply to other assets to this new digital asset space. So I think it's a good bill. I encourage members to vote green. It's hard for me to remember that I'm encouraging members to vote green for Representative Curran or Representative Frazier's bills, but I do encourage members to vote green on this bill. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the author of the bill, Representative Curran.
Thank you, Speaker, and thanks again, Representative Niska. I appreciate the dialogue throughout the process, appreciate everyone's work that happened before this, and encourage members to vote green. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. Will the chief clerk call the member that is voting remotely?
Smith.
Smith votes aye.
Smith votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There are 120 yeas and 0 nays. The bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next calendar of the day, bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3520. How'd you say that? On the last bill, the vote was 120 yeas to 8 nays. My apologies. The vision this far is a little bit difficult at this age, but so the bill does pass and its title agreed to. Yep, okay. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3520, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to public safety.
I recognize the author of the bill. The member from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. Members, among the many provisions that passed last session that may not have received the attention that deserves for the great work that we did were a series of changes to our criminal sexual conduct laws that were championed by Chair Moeller and by Representative Rarick in the GOP to adjust the age at which the most serious penalties apply for exploitation of young people, to adjust that age from under the age of 13 to under the age of 14, recognizing that exploitation of a 13-year-old is an incredibly serious crime. There was, however, one technical fix that was missed, and House File 3520 before you fixes that issue. It changes an age in one of the crimes relating to purchasing a minor for sex from under 13 to under 14, and would be glad to have your support to make that fix and protect the young people of our state. Thank you, Speaker.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give this bill a third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3520.
Third reading. Discussion. Wow, no member discussion, all right. Representative Pinto, is there discussion?
Thank you, Speaker. This is a good bill that we need to fix and protect these vulnerable victims. I urge my members to vote green.
Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Speaker. And yeah, I did not acknowledge Lee Novotny. I appreciate his partnership and his longtime work in this area as well. Members, as has been said, this will help keep young people safe, and I hope we can have a full green board. Thank you, Speaker.
The clerk will take the roll.
You can just leave it up. I'm going to come back up.
Perfect.
Double check there.
See what? It's right in front of you.
I know, but Pat told me to read off of over there, so I tried to read over there.
Just wait till it pulls there and then read from there. And then listen to that too.
Did we have a message from the Senate? Are we all ready with all our items? Moments away. Yeah. I just called your guys without
Waiting for the bill that was amended and he's getting girls first. Moments away, so we'll just pause. Yes? Okay. Clinically, we've jumped the gun, but we should wait as long as it's on its way.
The unofficial is all.
I heard that, but.
Will the chief clerk please call the name of the member who's voting remotely?
Smith.
Still there?
I'm here. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Smith votes yes.
Smith votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments and concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3489, an act relating to education, providing for public safety. The message is signed Thomas S. Bodern, Secretary of the Senate. Dameth moves that Rule 1.15, Paragraph C, relating disposition of Senate files be suspended for the purpose of taking the message from the Senate relating to 3489.
The member from Stearns, Representative Dameth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion, the motion to suspend the rules, to concur with the message from the Senate. This would allow us to immediately pass that SRO bill that we have been working on and waiting. The important thing to remember, members, that this is the way to get this done the fastest. The bill actually has been improved with the addition to what was done in the Senate. And so I would ask members, and Madam Speaker, I would request a roll call.
Representative Dameth requests a roll call. Seeing 10 hands, there will be a roll call. Or seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Dameth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And this bill has improved. This would be the fastest way to get our SROs back in school. This is what we have been talking about and needing to get done. Members, I would request a green vote.
The member from Scott, Representative Bakeberg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I would also encourage a green vote. This amendment that the Senate put on provides further clarity for school staff when they are trying to protect other school personnel, students, and property within our schools. This will be a further step. When I spoke earlier, I talked about this being the first step, the SROs back in school, but this is a further step to ensure that our schools and our students are safe. So I would encourage a green vote to suspend the rules so that we could address this issue right now.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would encourage a red vote on this. This is not a friendly amendment that's coming over from the Senate. It does not provide more safety for our students. It does not make the bill better. We will address this in conference committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the motion. Representative Bakeberg.
Wonder if Representative Frazier would yield for a question.
He will yield. Representative Bakeberg.
I'm just curious, Representative Frazier, you said that this does not make our schools safer. I beg to differ, but if you could explain your rationale why you feel that way.
Representative Frazier.
The very issue that is trying to be addressed by this amendment, which goes much more broader than what the issue was that was raised by educational staff. We addressed this issue twice in the Senate. We had nonpartisan staff address the issue of what can be done to intervene with property damage. We addressed the issue in the House with nonpartisan staff to address the issue of what can be done to intervene with damage to property. The issue was resolved. Those groups said that they were okay with that and they were satisfied with that. This broadens that in terms of what can be done to engage our students in a physical manner that doesn't make them safer. It's about property, so that doesn't make this bill better, and it doesn't make our schools safer, and it doesn't make our students safer.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the motion to suspend the rules. Will the clerk please call the name of the member who is voting remotely?
Smith.
Here you go.
Smith votes no.
Smith votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. A motion to suspend requires 90 votes to pass, the vote being 64 ayes and 65 nays. The motion does not prevail.
Frazier moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3489, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members of the House, and that the House request that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
Representative Frazier, to your motion to refuse to concur.
I would urge a green vote on this. We will work this out in conference committee, and we will come back with the best bill. Thank you.
Any discussion? Representative Demuth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I would urge a no vote on this. We could have done this by suspending the rules and taking this up, absolutely getting this done today, but I would encourage a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to refuse to concur, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. No. The motion prevails. Announcement by the Speaker.
The Speaker announces the appointment of the following members of the House to a conference committee on House File Number 3489, Frazier, Moeller, and Whitty.
Motions and resolutions. There's copies of non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we'll take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
Frazier moves that House File Number 1832 be recalled from the Committee on Transportation, Finance, and Policy and be re-referred to the Committee on Public Safety, Finance, and Policy.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Frazier.
That is my motion, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Representative Frazier, could you say just a little bit more about the bill, where it's coming from, where it's going to? Representative Frazier.
Madam Chair, this is a bill that currently sits in transportation. It is a bill addressing the modernization of issues dealing with traffic violations and traffic safety, and we would like to move over to public safety to have that conversation.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Hanson R. moves that House File Number 3550 be recalled from the Committee on Ways and Means and be re-referred to the Committee on Environment, Natural Resource, Finance, and Policy.
The member from Dakota, Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is my motion. I have talked with Chair Olson and myself, and we both agree that it should come back to the Environment Committee. It is a Bowser technical bill, and the provision that it needs to come back, it has a fiscal component that needs to be taken out. I'd ask for your support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, wait, did I do that backwards? Those in support, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Petersburg moves that House File Number 4294 be returned to its author.
The member from Waseca, Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Speaker Hortman. That is my motion. This is a bill that came to me from a constituent who raised a question, and I thought it looked like a reasonable request. I put together a bill that I thought was simple, and around here, nothing simple ever works. And so there's a lot more issues to this than I found out was necessary. So it's just not ready for prime time, and so I'm asking it to be returned to the author. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Announcements. The member from St. Louis, Representative Olson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ways and Means Committee will meet 15 minutes after session in room 200.
Announcements. The member from Dakota, Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Freiberg yield for a question?
He will yield. Representative Garofalo.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, Representative Freiberg, today is one of the worst days of the year. It is the day after which the government in its heavy-handed approach forces all citizens to arbitrarily change their clocks to pretend it's a different time than it is.
I know you have been a longtime champion of ending this oppression against Minnesota citizens. Can you please give us an update on the status of your bill to correct this injustice?
Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Garofalo, for the excellent question. With the Speaker's indulgence, I'll respond to that during announcements here. So there's actually two bills. A couple years ago, we passed a bill. It's a trigger bill, which says that once Congress gives us permission, we will go to permanent daylight saving time. Under current law, federal law, we can go to standard time when you have more daylight in the hour permanently, but we cannot go to daylight saving time when you have more sunlight in the afternoon permanently. So it looked for a while like Congress was maybe going to do something to give us permission to do this. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So if you're interested, I did introduce another bill this year. This is an issue, by the way, with broad bipartisan support. The old version was supported by Senator Kiffmeyer in the Senate. But the new version says that we will go to permanent standard time immediately, and then once Congress gives us permission, we would switch to permanent daylight saving time. Now, the sleep scientists love standard time. They say it lines up with our circadian rhythms. And I think once I've said circadian rhythms, I've gone way too much detail. I see eyes glazing over, so maybe I'll just leave it at that. Suffice it to say, Representative Garofalo, I have a great bill you can sign on to right now.
Announcements. Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a reminder to the Speaker and all members that the opposite of progress is Congress. Thank you.
Or the Minnesota Senate. Either one works. Any further announcements? Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12:10 p.m. Wednesday, March 13th, 2024.
Representative Long moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12:10 p.m. Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Long moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 12:10 Wednesday, March 13th, 2024.